My name is Duncan Driver. I live in Canberra in the ACT, and for a living, I'm assistant professor of teacher education at the University of Canberra. But that's probably not why you're interested in watching this video. You're more interested in the theatrical life that I occasionally lead, although I lead it less often these days, it must be said. That leads me to the next question. What role does theatre play in my life? It still plays a significant role. Other things have taken over in more recent years, like family and a career, which is largely unconnected from the theatre, although I draw on some of the things that I've learned in the theatre pretty much every day. But it still plays a significant role. I'm an artistic director, one of the artistic directors of Shakespeare by the Lakes, which is a Canberra outdoor Shakespeare festival. And we were just able to sneak the 2020 offering of the festival in the tiny gap between fires and hail and the coronavirus. So, cheers to that. Next question. What is your most memorable theatre experience? Probably playing Hamlet, which is a monster of a part to play. And for any actor, I think, who has serious theatrical ambitions, I'd be surprised if Shakespeare wasn't on the list anywhere. And for me, Hamlet was the role I gravitated to. Maybe because I discovered the play as a bit of a sulky teenager, and he's a character who's a bit of a sulky teenager. The patron saint, the hero of the sulky, the bedroom-focused, the kind of person like me who prefers to have the blinds drawn all the time, who doesn't like daylight. I'm doing it right now so you can see me, but if the video weren't on, I'd be happily ensconced in darkness. Earliest memory of the theatre is probably going to see my father as Mr. Darling in a production of Peter Pan, the musical. That was just an amateur production that was being put on at Canberra Repertory in the mid-1980s. That was I don't know if it was my first experience of the theatre. It was certainly the first one that I remember, probably because my dad was in it. And it began that lifelong desire to participate, to not just be a spectator. If my dad could do it, then so could I. Nothing is more boring or more normal than what your dad does, and so it just seems natural to start doing that thing yourself, I suppose. Most embarrassing theatrical memory or story? Well, there's a lot to choose from, but I'd probably have to go with, can't remember which play it was, but I was on stage at Canberra Repertory, and I was busting to go to the toilet. Nervousness hits people in different ways. I've known some people who vomit before going on stage. I'm a bit more of a nervous peer. And I was doing the first scene of the play and realized I had a powerful urge to urinate. And I thought I could just about get to the end of this scene, which I did. I ran off stage, ran backstage into the gents' dressing room, and was experiencing blessed relief. And they had a kind of a tannoy audio system in the dressing room where you could hear what was going on stage. And I suddenly realized that whatever the other actors were talking about is not something I'd ever heard in the play before. And at first I thought that's weird. I thought I knew this play well. And then it occurred to me that they were frantically improvising because I hadn't come back on stage. And so I hurriedly finished what I was doing, and I ran back on, and I was grabbed by the stage manager just as I was about to get back on stage. And she said, "You can't go on." I said, "Look, can you hear what they're doing? They're madly improvising. I have to get back on and try and get this play back on the rails." She said, "Look at yourself." And so I looked down and saw I was wearing a pair of white linen trousers, and there was a big wet patch right across the entire front of them. So I took off my jacket, held it in front of me, and walked on stage like that. Now that was an embarrassing one. In 3 words, please describe what to you is a theatrically fulfilling piece. In 3 words, I would have to pick meaty. It needs to have enough in it to feel like you can really sink your teeth into a role. Theatrically fulfilling for me has already the caveat in it that I'm in it. So yeah, enough to do in the play that it's meaty enough. So meaty. What else? Funny. Yeah, I actually, when it comes to it, I'm more naturally inclined to things which I think are witty or comical or clownish than dramatic, which is maybe, it's an odd choice then for me to pick Hamlet as like the most memorable role ever. No, but Hamlet's actually quite funny. Yeah, I think Shakespeare is generally more of a comic writer than anything else. And I think that's one of the things that English drama has that a lot of very serious, weighty American drama doesn't. If you think about the people who are venerated in American drama, like Arthur Miller, there's not many jokes in there. And I tend to like a writer who can kind of carry something along with humor. So, meaty, funny, and what else? The last one I'd probably say is people, because it's often less the play, it's often less the part, it's who I get to work with that makes me want to do something. So, meaty, funny people. If you had to go to a desert island with one script or cast recording, what would it be? Well, the normal rule of Desert Island Discs is that you already have the Bible, not that I would read it, and the complete works of William Shakespeare. So if I already have the complete works of William Shakespeare and I'm picking something else, can I choose an anthology of Tom Stoppard plays? As long as it's got The Real Inspector Hound, this play, The Real Thing, in it, and Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. As long as I could go back and read those, and Arcadia, then I think I'd be quite happy. If I can't have Shakespeare, if that's not already on the island, I'd pick that. I wouldn't pick a cast recording. I'd definitely pick a script, because the more you read something, the more you can do it in different ways. With a cast recording, you're kind of limited to that one interpretation. What do I miss most about the theatre right now? Well, it goes back to my 3 words before. People. I miss hanging out with people. For my kind of person in their teens and their 20s, theatre was kind of like a substitute for a social life. And it was the one group activity that I could actually function in. I was never very good at playing any kind of team sport, so theatre filled that team sport-shaped hole in my life. And certainly it was my social life for a long time. So it's where I get to interact with people in a way that's collaborative. So that's what I miss. I miss the people. Any words of advice for the next generation of theatre makers? Don't listen to my advice would be the number one piece of advice I have for you. Don't listen to advice generally. There's a wonderful book about writing films by, I can't remember his name. This is a function of sitting in my bedroom all day and all night. You start to forget things. But he wrote The Princess Bride, and he wrote another wonderful film called Marathon Man. And he also wrote this book, which is about writing for movies, but it applies to theatre as well. The first sentence in this book is, nobody knows anything. I think that's the best advice I can give you as far as pursuing anything creative, the theatre being one avenue for that, obviously. Anyone who thinks they can tell you how to do it or who pretends to have the answer, either knows very little or they are a snake oil salesman of some kind. So, yeah, don't listen to people who give you advice. That's it. I hope this has been helpful to you. It probably isn't, but I enjoy doing it all the same. Thanks. Bye.